we have the technology. It just needs to be brought to market, and it's going to take a small business person to do that, and that's where they need people to help with doing the business plans. They need people to come together with the funding to join up, and having to fight against big industry, big oil companies, or big banks against big corporations. You know, someone said, well, we're putting a cap on those who make this much money. A smart businessman is going to say, well, that's fine. I'm just going to split my company into 4 different companies now instead of having, and then someone else can say, well, I've made all these jobs by putting this law into effect. It's just going around the mountain. There's nothing really changed other than corporate world is helping political world, and political and corporate need to come together and need to realize it's the small people that have built this country and have, by the grace of heaven, have allowed to get big in size. But it's the same thing with population. It goes and goes and goes and goes. Your automobiles are going up in production, and then the population's cut out. You got a surplus.
Right.
We have a surplus in a lot of things. We need to let that which is old and ancient die and bring forth this new technology, and it's going to take grassroots, like what you have going on right now, cutting down the advertising dollars. Instead of spending $400, $500 a month on a yellow page ad, spend $25 here, and you can use the rest of that money for productivity, for your overhead. God knows gasoline's way too high. There's no reason for us to be paying that kind of money when we're only getting 15% of it from over the Middle East.
Right.
And I got that directly from a guy who's working with Ross Perot.
Wow.
Well, and now we're only 50% of what it was at one point, remember?
And if we can,
yes.
$4+ a gallon?
Yes.
and if we can get the support to help A to Z billboards, we can help the community get more exposure to their small businesses so they can be able to grow.
You know, with what she just said, it brings to mind what you're doing. You're operating the law of reciprocity. Millionaires, billionaires know this. Because they take a certain percentage of what they make, whether it's 10% or above, and they're giving back into the community. They're seeding it out there. And I think that any small business, if that was a part of the stipulation for them to get a loan, like right now I need $10,000 for what I need to do for branching out. If I was to get that loan under stipulation of, you know, every dollar that came in, 10% of it or above had to go out into community, that would help to stimulate. Whether that 10% was broke up into 10 different ways or one way, but give it to that entrepreneurs and the bankers. You know, let there be some kind of boundaries.
Right.
You know, we're not going to give it off to somebody who's going to attack this country and knock down Twin Towers. You know, people of sound mind and character.
Right. Yeah, I guess I'll talk about the billboard in a minute. Everybody else is talking about it. But we also have Parks here. Introduce yourself.
I'm Nancy Parks from Shabbat Sanctuary. I'm the pastor there, and I came tonight to partake of what is going on as far as our communities in our city and our nation. There has to be a change, and coming here tonight let me know that we're all getting on one accord to try to help make this change. So I'm willing to do whatever I can do to partake of that, and also it has to be done, and it has to be done quickly. There has to be some kind of strategies, you know, because from the church point of view, you have so many families that are in need because of the inflation. So we can only provide so much, you know, as pastors and as the church. So as a community, we need to come together, because it's going to take the community, it's going to take the neighborhood in order for the nation to come back to where it needs to come to.
Anything? Still thinking? Okay.
I don't know if she touched on the subject, but another thing about taking the community to build the community, if the church depends on tithing and donations to keep their doors open. Okay, right now, because the donations, the tithing, everything is down because they have no jobs. Okay, so what's happening? The church is losing, closing its doors, is unable to provide the services they normally would to a community. They can't remain open because they're having to go out and get jobs, past being ministers, pastors. So, if anything, we need to find a way for them, and I believe A to Z has found a way for them to, for us to provide for the nonprofits. And I'm going to let Darnell explain that.
Oh, I guess I'm going to get it sooner or later anyway. Yeah, I guess I ought to say something about it, since we're talking about what works. I guess first I need to say what A to Z is. A to Z Mini Billboards is something I had done a long time ago, about 2.5 years ago, when I was homeless. Okay, I was one of the 6,000 Enron layoffs at the first time, although you didn't get it, but I did. Oh.
That other job you got laid off.
Yeah. So, and then when that happened, we came home. I guess, well, what really happened, I was in Mexico, and we got a call and said we all had no jobs while in another country, while we were working to put stuff out of the country, basically. Well, we were doing all manufacturing. So when we got back, we stayed on for a little while, and eventually lost everything. Everybody lost their jobs. I lost my house, car, family at the time, everything. I went totally homeless. And then after a spell, you know, I stayed with a family that needed my help as well as I needed theirs. They had the house. I had the able body because they needed help around the house, basically. So they basically took care of me, you know, like a child, gave me a little allowance and let me use their car and all that stuff. And one day I was at the barber shop, actually going to a job interview at a job fair. I had 12 bucks in my pocket, and I was looking at the TV, and there were people in the barber shop. There was lots of things to read and everything, but everybody was looking at that TV. The TV had no sound. And I was thinking to myself, and nobody reads anything. I said, if I had my resume on that monitor, I'd probably get me a job. And then it came to me. I mean, I was thinking, it you know, went through my head for a second. And then when I went back home, you know, because I was a computer guy anyway, I made my own billboard system, which became A to Z Mini Billboards, even though it was made out of wood and was 2.5 feet by 4 foot and weighed 45 pounds. It took 2 people to hang it on the wall when it first started. But when I first started, and just what like the gentleman back here was saying, I started it off trying to be my own. It was my own job. I was going to build the machines, put them out there myself, sell the ads myself, do everything myself, and I found out it don't work. You can't do it. So I put it aside. In the meantime, though, I kept working on the hardware and software because I had nothing else to do. I didn't have a job, right? So it sort of dawned on me that the only way I could really be successful is to give back all the money. And it makes one cry, right?
Okay.
I'll take your mic.
Check it out.
Give him a hand, everybody.
What do you call us? Holy Spirit?
Divine intervention.
Yeah.
Okay.
Translation.
All right, now. So it just dawned on me that I had no money. No one else had anything. So I had a good idea. But the only way to make those kind of things work is for everybody to succeed. So I came up with this thing called Positive Touch. So basically what it is anything I had to create from that point forward had to have a positive impact on everyone it touched. In this case, the ads had to be low. Still hurt. Everyone had to make a profit. We couldn't cheat anybody. It had to help all the community.
All right. And it's doing just that.
I don't know why it's doing that to me. And I'm a preacher's kid. I should know about it, right? Anyway, so what I did was, I'm a math guy anyway. Might not be able to spell, but I know my numbers right. And so I just revamped the model so that all the money really went out to the community. And I only took a little bit of it. Because when you look at it, and big businesses should do the same thing. If you make your people become profitable, you become profitable because you're helping them become profitable. So we gave back 70% of the profits. And we made the ads, and you can see the system right here. It's just a little thing. I mean, it's all been coming to me by the grace of God, I guess. And each system, even though it takes a very little bit to advertise, it has a massive way to get the ads out. You know, it's very responsive. So in a nutshell, basically what I did was create something that everybody could afford, and even the price has something to do with when I was homeless. I only had 12 bucks in my pocket, right? So I figured double the 12, right? 25 bucks was close enough. And I just kept it that way. So the mandate became that, you know, all the ads had to be really low cost, and more than 50% of the profit needed to go back into the community. And we even made it so the system allows any nonprofit to advertise in it. Anybody giving back 50% or more to the community can advertise in it for free. We made it so that the nonprofit companies, corporations can make or can earn money off of it by producing jobs for other people. As a matter of fact, we made it so that sponsors, people who have money, can sponsor a system and tie it to a nonprofit, and that nonprofit can then make a job for another person. It becomes their job. The person who sponsors it gets an advertisement. The person who works the system has a job. The client who is advertising in the system has viewage for 25 bucks. I mean, and you don't have to spend thousands. I looked at the systems in the mall, and the systems in the mall were like 10,000 bucks for a weekend. The only people that can use that are people that are already making it. So I know when I was, all I needed was someone to see that I could do something. 25 bucks I could have came up with. And it would have been right in the barbershop for everybody to see for 25 bucks. And I probably got a job if it existed, right? At least computer repair, right? Or something, you know, or, you know, I'll do your laundry, you know, something like that. But it had to be something that was grassroots. So that's A to Z. And A to Z really is all the people.
We love you, baby. Well, what I want to say is thank you, Darnell. Thank you, Darnell, for being so, actually for coming up with an ingenious concept. Because, let me just tell you a quick story. Darnell and I used to work together at Tyco Electronics. It's in Mesquite. I don't know if you all know. We manufactured power supplies. And
he and I kind of clicked because he's just so down to earth. You know, real smart guy, but not, you know, just down to earth. You know, easy to talk to and kind of true blue. What you see is what you get. And Darnell used to, he didn't work directly in old board minded power. He worked in Next Generation. But I was responsible for the old generation. And I was always amazed at how he could make a machine do stuff. All you had to do was say, Darnell, you know, this machine is not working effectively and efficiently. I wish it would do this. And he wouldn't say a whole lot. You know, he just kind of look, and sometimes he'd roll his eyes up in the back of his glasses, you know, whatever. And he'd go away and do whatever he did. And then in no time, I would say 2, 3 weeks, a month, even shorter, he comes back with a solution. You know, so, you know, I say that to say this. He's an ingenious person. He's a good-hearted person. And the fact that he came up with a concept when he was in desperation, something that a lot of people would only think of themselves. You know, I don't have a home of my own. I don't have money in my pocket. I need to be trying to figure out what can I do to survive. And yet, in spite of all of that, he was able to come up with a concept that helps so many people. And I can see, I'm just glad to be able to say that in the next near future, I'm going to be able to say, I used to work with that guy. You know? I used to work with him when we were working for a company, corporate America, and I used to work for him when he ventured out on his own. Because I too believe in community, and that's what attracted me to A to Z. You know, so Darnell, it's okay to be emotional. It's an emotional thing. Because I talk about your story all the time. And I'll be like, can you believe that? You know, he was just like, yeah. As a matter of fact, I was at a lady's beauty shop just a couple of days ago. And I'm supposed to be, you know, promoting my own business, right? I want to use her business to set up a system. And when I heard her story, I told her, you know, you can make money doing this too. You know, so I gave away what I was going to be doing to her, and she's all excited about it. You know, so, you know, that's the way he's designed it, to help anybody.
That's community.
You know, that's community. You know, and there might have been a time when, you know, I might have said, well, I might not have shared that with her, you know, but why not? It's enough out there for everybody. $25 ads, it's gonna take this country by storm. And I'm just glad I'm a part of it. So, thank you, Darnell. We love you.
And also, I'd just like to say that when I ride up and down the highway, I see signs just mounted in the grass, just people trying to get exposure. And everywhere you go, you see cars lined up all on the counters. And what I try to do to help the small businesses is to get that exposure on a mini billboard so people can view and see what they have, instead of them going through all those little cars or past a sign. They can't remember the number, and they can see it visually right in front of them.